Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. It's that time of the season. Serie A kickoff is only a few days away, and it's time for those too early predictions because I think they are too early right now. Until the transfer market is done, I always think it's too early. Some of you, loyal channel members and watchers might remember I may or may have not predicted Napoli to retain the Scudetto last year. I mean, yeah, my Serie A fan card should be redeemed, should be removed from me for predicting Rudy Garcia to win it. But it's because these predictions, in my opinion, as I say, are way too early because Serie A teams, because we broke, we always do our business in the last few days of the Mercato. So how teams look right now is not how teams will look in a couple of weeks' time. But, you guys deserve this content. It's a bit of fun. I want to hear your opinions afterwards as well. And obviously, it's just a chance for us to just talk about the upcoming season. To help us, I've got the Opta supercomputer predictions here, which are, you can see already some really, really interesting predictions here. Atalanta finishing second and Conte's Napoli finishing all the way down here in 8th position. So very, very interesting predictions here. But we're going to use this tier maker here. And let's get started, not waste any more time. We're going to go through all the transfers and stuff to see how the teams are looking. But I'm not going to keep the suspense here like, ooh, I wonder he's gonna make us wait until the last minute to predict who's winning the Serie A. No, actually, I'm going to predict this straight away because I don't want to waste time on this. Just like last year, and I think in general, this is what, when it comes to making predictions really early, I gamble or I would put my hat on the team with stability. As you know, if you follow me for my Inter content, you'll know I've been talking about this on my channel, the fact that Inter have the same coach, essentially the exact same starting 11. On top of that, Inter, my team, have added Piotr Zielinski, one of the best midfielders of the Serie A in the last few years. Coming off a bad season, but still amazing addition on the free. Mehdi Taremi coming in. Jose Martinez is the backup goalkeeper. Still some additions to probably make. Let's see if they actually make them. But Inzaghi remaining there on. He is now coming into his 4th season. That stability, the style of play. The players know inside out what they need to be doing. Will there be, previous seasons, Inzaghi's also talks about this, the complacency factor is the key for Inter to watch out for. Will there be any complacency or drop-off in performance? I think there will be a slight one because I feel like in some aspects Inter may have overperformed last year. The goal difference, Inter's goal difference was higher than a lot of teams as, total goals scored. And, defensively, the performance from the likes of, Acerbi, De Vrij, Zoma, the whole, defensive packet, not even just the defenders, the whole team. Feel like there might be maybe a few more goals leaked this year. But still up front, Lautaro, Thuram, and Taremi should be enough firepower to lead Inter to the Scudetto. So nice, easy, early. We're getting that out of the way. And of course, I'll be very happy if that happens. I don't know if you agree or disagree. Let's talk about the other situations. Obviously, in Italy, we've had the, still here says Champions League 2 to 4. We had 5 teams past season for the Champions League, but it depends on how the coefficient works. If Italy once again do well in Europe, they might get another season of 5 teams in the Champions League. But for now, we're going to predict 2 to 4. But let's now go to the other end of the table in terms of relegation. Opta Computer predicts that Venezia and Como, the 2 newly promoted sexy hipster clubs that have come up from Serie B, to be promoted straight back down. And when we look at the business done by both of these teams, let's look at Como, the new sexy, everyone's favorite team. Everyone can't wait to go to an away day at Como, just obviously visit Como Lake. But actually, not even confirmed whether they're able to play the games at Como's, the stadium, because it doesn't actually meet the criteria yet in terms of attendance, stadium capacity. So I don't know how that's going to work. But yeah, some interesting signing there. Obviously, Emil Laudero, Inter fans will remember him. They signed him, so he should be a pretty solid Serie A level goalkeeper. Mazzitelli from Frosinone was a good player for Frosinone last year, was their captain. Varane, now this is a great signing on paper, in theory, but there's a reason why a lot of teams didn't go for him. His injury history has been pretty bad over the last few years, and 20 minutes into his Como debut the other day, he was injured. So if Varana's going to miss a chunk of the season, I don't really see how that's going to help this Como team stay up. I think they really, really do rely on that. They also signed Pepe Reina. He's going to be more, backup, goalkeeper, and kind of dressing room banter and, experienced man there. But apart from that, Belotti's a good one. Strefezza, of course, keeping him. Some interesting buys. The other guys I don't know too much about. Alberto Moreno, of course, former Liverpool player as well. Lots of Spanish connection you can see here. And, Cesc Fabregas being the head coach this year. Last year, I think he was technically the coach, but because of some technicalities behind his, UEFA coaching license, he wasn't able to. So at the moment, they've made some good signings, but I don't know if it's enough for Como to stay up. But for now, I am going to put Como to just about, because I feel like, they have rich owners and they still feel like they still will pull some moves. So I'm just gambling on the fact that they might pull a little bit more. And then maybe Belotti will get them some goals up front as well. And they've got Patrick Cutrones there as well. So there's some two very good poachers. So that's one for the lower. But on the other side, the other hipster team, Venezia, I'm predicting them to go straight down. I mean, let's have a look at Venezia's incomings and outgoings. I mean, Filip Stankovic from Inter, young promising keeper, but he's even going to start? Probably not. Alfred Duncan, this is a good signing from free and from Fiorentina, starting midfielder in my opinion. Aristagna from Inter, that's also a decent signing. But apart from that, Altare, he had decent Serie A experience, but this Venezia team essentially being the same team from Serie B, they're probably likely to lose Tanner Tessman, who's probably their best player. I just don't really see, up front. They need to buy a proper striker. I think they still have Christian Gitke, the guy that scored goals in Serie B, but he also, wasn't quite good enough for Monza a couple of years back in Serie A. So, yeah, I'm predicting Venezia to go straight back down. Now let's move back towards the top. Who's going to finish in the top four? I am going to say that Juve are going to remain in the top four. So I'm not going to particularly rank them for now. I'm just going to put Juve there, and the Opta supercomputer also put them there. Now, Juve are interesting. Juve have had a lot of changes this year, of course. New coach, and it's a completely different type of coach from Allegri. You're going from, a very conservative, pragmatic coach. So actually, Thiago Motta is also quite, I would say conservative, but he is pragmatic. His Bologna team was very solid at the back. And, yes, they play nice patterns and style of football at times, but it's not necessarily high scoring, I would say, or, super exciting. And of course, lots of changes in the personnel. They're talking about Chiesa leaving, Sule sold, lots of first team players like Szczesny out, Alexandro out, lots of new younger players coming in like Catherine Thuram, Cabal. So lots of changing and chopping. They've had a very bad preseason friendlies have been really, really bad, guys. Really, really bad. I think they've lost a lot of them, or they've not looked good at all. But yeah, as I said, when you look at Thiago Motta, the coaching job that Thiago Motta has done previously at Spezia, then the 2 years at Bologna, I would say every single one of these last 3 years of his coaching, he's overachieved at Thiago Motta. So I think even with the kind of doubts on this Juve squad, with these incomings here, obviously big signing of Douglas Luiz and all these outgoings, and still a lot of work to do. They still need to get at least one winger in if they're replacing Chiesa, or even before replacing Chiesa. They still need a centre back. They keep missing out on. They've missed out on the A target, which was Calafiori. They missed out on the B target, which was Todibo, and now it looks like they're getting Kalulu. So not great work until now, I would say, from Giuntoli in the transfer window, but still more time, more work to do. And I'm going to pull Juve 4 just because of Thiago Motta. I think he is an excellent coach, and I think even if Giuntoli doesn't quite complete the squad as he might want to, or as Thiago Motta might want to, his coaching itself will take Juve comfortably into the top four. Not quite the finished article by any stretch of the imagination. Probably not even challenging for the Scudetto, but I think he will do a good coaching job to then see if they can start challenging for the Scudetto again next year. And then alongside them, I still put Milan. I think Milan even ahead of Juve. Milan have been a team that were closest to challenging Inter last year, even though, even they couldn't really challenge Inter, let's be honest. But if you look at Milan's incomings, again, not particularly exciting transfer window, but they have, in theory, upgraded on Giroud, who was declining for the last couple of seasons with Morata. Morata that actually has just split from his wife, so he might turn into a monster now. Pavlovic, this different type of defender. They've probably needed this kind of no-nonsense, old-school type of defender. Who's also decent on the ball, Pavlovic, but probably has a few yellow cards and red cards in him. This is the confusing signing, Emerson Royale from Tottenham for 15 million. Yes, they needed to upgrade on Calabria, but is Emerson Royale the upgrade on Calabria? But yeah, apart from that, stability, when we talk about stability, Milan's squad is very stable. Yes, they've changed coach, but Fonseca looks like he's going to focus a little bit more on making Milan solid at the back, because under Pioli, they leaked too many goals. And I think that should help them solidify a better position for them in the window. And again, similar to what I'm talking about, Thiago Motta, I do like what Fonseca did with Lille. His Roma job maybe wasn't good in the totality on reflection, but actually wasn't as bad as people make it. So I do trust his coaching, and this is where I'm putting our cousins Milan, and which I think it will be closer this year. I think the title race. Next up in the top four, I'm putting. This is with a big caveat. Now, the Napoli being top four is a big caveat on Antonio Conte, De Laurentiis getting on, first of all, and Antonio Conte not quitting before the transfer window ends, because there's a lot of grumblings right now that Antonio Conte is not a happy man, because a lot of the things that needed to be done still haven't been done. I mean, we knew that Lukaku was someone that Conte wanted since the start of the window, and he still isn't here yet. We knew that Osimhen had an agreement to leave, hasn't been taking part in any of the friendlies, and he still hasn't left yet. Lots of gaps still in the squad to cover. Apparently Conte isn't even happy with Meret or Caprile, both the goalkeepers, so a lot of work to do. But at the same time, the signing of Buongiorno, this is a big statement signing, finally replacing Kim Min-jae, not with Nathan. This is the signing that they should have done last season. And I think under Conte, Buongiorno will become, he already was, in my opinion, last season in terms of performance, alongside obviously Bastoni, etc., defender of the season for Serie A. And I think he will maintain that level. Don't know too much about Rafa Marin from Real Madrid, but I'm hearing good things. Popovic is probably someone, probably for the youth, but Spinazzola is also a good free transfer, but we know he's got injury issues. But if they make those 2-3 moves, important moves that Conte wants before the end of the transfer window, again, speaking about coaching here, Antonio Conte as a coach, we know, especially with no European football, Napoli are not even in Conference League thanks to the awful finish last year, that feeling of revenge or redemption that Conte will draw out from these Napoli players, hunger, and Conte's coaching, his solid 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 that he will play with 7 days to prepare before each game. Again, I don't think he'll make them title challenges, but I think they will make top four, and this is in complete disagreement to the Opta prediction is predicting them to finish 8th. So yeah, maybe deep down I'm still an Antonio Conte fan, but this is what I'm feeling right now. What do you guys think? I think this one might be the one that there's a lot of debate about where Napoli finish. Now let's move back again towards the bottom. One of the teams I'm worried about this year is Monza. again, I'm going to stick to the coach talk, because I think in modern football, coaches have become so important. And in terms of what Raffaele Palladino did at Monza the last few seasons with the squad that he had, I think he drew out a little bit more than that squad had. And now this year, they've got Alessandro Nesta, of course, legend of the game, one of the best centre-backs to ever play the game. But I don't particularly rate him as a coach. His last few jobs haven't really earned much, fanfare. But I think they'll stay up, but I think they're going to struggle. And, in terms of incomings, yes, staying season nice signing. We know Maldini on a free from Milan. Yeah, it's okay. But apart from that, they really haven't done much. They sold Colpani, one of their best players, if not their best player last year. And they still haven't replaced them. Or is Maldini the replacement for Colpani? So I'm definitely seeing a downward movement in Monza, where they might be fighting for their life. Another team that I see struggling, as usual, is Empoli. I always like Empoli because they play a lot of young players. Sebastiano Esposito, they signed from Inter, also Colombo from Milan. I'm always, I like what Empoli do, especially for Italian football, because not many teams really do that, do they? So let's see so Empoli, again, not really done too much. Some of these guys were already there last season. Do they have enough firepower? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. And I think their coach, Davide Nicola, usually is the guy to save you from relegation, but isn't usually the greatest guy to have from the start of the season. So maybe they need to fire him and then bring him back after. So let's see how that goes. Who shall we move on to next? Atalanta. Now, this is an interesting one. Atalanta, I'm putting in the Europa League positions, even though Opta Supercomputer is putting them in second. I think this is also depending on what happens. They've made some interesting moves. Like, obviously, they had the ACL injury of Scamacca was a big issue, but they rectified that straight away, signing Retegui. But is he really an Atalanta Gasperini type of striker? I'm not quite convinced. Sulemana from Cagliari, he's a young, promising player. Not sure if he's going to be starter material. Zaniolo, we know, Gasperini is known to revive careers, but Zaniolo, he's already being injured in preseason, and they're talking that he's being seen by a specialist over this injury. If Coop Miners is going to be sold, Scalvini had an ACL as well, so there's two guys out with ACLs. They redeemed the Ketelare, but he still got that hunger that he had last year of proving himself. Ben Godfrey from Everton, it's still good buys, and still I think it's going to be good team to watch. They're going to perform well, but I just think that Scamacca injury, that Scalvini injury, and the replacements they've got are not quite the Gasperini mold, or in the case of Zaniolo, they just won't be reliable enough. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? Now, Lazio and Roma, let's talk about them. I think Roma have definitely improved, and they might even finish above Atalanta, in my opinion. But, they're going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch, Roma. I'm really looking forward to seeing what De Rossi is going to cook up with his Roma team, because, look at this transfer window. Dovbyk, Sule, Lefer, keeping Angelino. And they still got some more work to do, which I think they will do. But still, at the back, Mancini and Dika as a centre-back partnership. Angelino as a left-back doesn't really convince me defensively. Zvila had a really good year last year as a goalkeeper, but, let's see if he proves himself consistently. So I just don't think they're going to have enough at the back. And there's still, these new pieces might take some time to get used to. So I'm putting Roma in between that 5th and 6th position. Now, one team that I'm expecting to have a big drop-off is Bologna, going back to Thiago Motta's coaching job. The Opta put him as a 6, but Bologna this year, I like Italiano, the new coach, but I think, again, what Thiago Motta did with this squad, and now Zirkzee is gone, Calafiori's gone, so you could say the two best players, and the third best player, Lewis Ferguson, had an ACL injury last year, and he's not going to be back for a while. The replacement signings for those guys, Erlich coming in from Sassuolo. He was awful for Sassuolo last year, and they paid 7 million for him. Hopefully, he can't be the Calafiori replacement, surely. Dalinga is going to be the replacement for Zirkzee. Put up some good numbers in Ligue 1. But, Serie A is not an easy league for strikers. I don't know too much about him, but I'm not convinced as well with this move. Cambiaghi is a nice player from Atalanta. He was at Empoli, but this guy scored 1 goal last season. So are these the guys that are going to add that finishing factor to the team? I don't know. Emil Holm, this is a decent signing from Spezia for 7 million. And they're, redeeming Odgaard and Freuler. But yeah, I think, Bologna in the Champions League as well, the squad is going to be stretched. I think Italiano is going to struggle with playing both Serie A, Champions League. Similar kind of style of play, I guess you could say, to Thiago Motta, but there's going to be some changes. So I think they actually might end up finishing outside of Europe this time around, Bologna, which is not bad at all. If you tell Bologna fan you're going to finish top 10 again, they'll be happy with that. And I think Fiorentina, speaking of, what Palladino did at Monza, I think he's going to take them slightly up. I think, on the Italiano, they seem to have kind of plateaued at the 8th position or Conference League, which is probably where they finish again, depending on how Italy do again in the coefficients. But I think we'll see an improvement in style and maybe a few more goals being scored, and a little bit more balance to the team compared to Italiano. But, Fiorentina still got some work to do. There's talks about potentially the best player leaving in Nico Gonzalez. They got Moise Kean. Pongracic is a nice replacement for Milenkovic leaving, who's a big, player for them at the back. But they signed De Gea. This one I'm not convinced about. Yes, they needed to upgrade on their goalkeeper Terracciano, who I've never been convinced of. But is De Gea in 2024, after he's not even played for over a year, De Gea, he's been completely out of contract since he left United? I'm not convinced. But Amir Richardson, this is a very, very interesting signing. This is probably one of my players to watch. And Fiorentina in general going to be our team to watch in general, if you can tune into these games. So yeah, I'm putting them there. Lazio, I'm just not convinced about yet. Maybe they will do more in the coming weeks and days. But Baroni is also a guy that maybe was even maybe ahead of Inzaghi, deserved Coach of the Year last year, because he did an absolute miracle at Hellas Verona. But the signings, Lazio, not really convincing me. Noslin is decent, as a striker. Chauna. I don't like Nuno Tavares. He's not been good since he signed for Arsenal. His loans have not been great. Castrovilli is a nice signing, but we know he's super injury prone. Dele Bashiru looks good from what I've seen in the midfielder, but I don't know, with Lazio, this Mercato doesn't really move me, especially as much as the Roma Mercato. But at the same time, should they be lower than Fiorentina? Maybe not. Maybe we put Lazio there and Fiorentina there. And then let's go back down. Who's going to get relegated now? Now, I've been predicting this for a while, but surely now this is the year that Hellas Verona get relegated, because the fact that they stayed up last year was already a miracle to me. So, I mean, who have they brought in? Have they even addressed their deficiencies this year? Let's have a quick look. Verona. So they signed a lot of players by the looks of it, but again, lots of random Football Manager type names. Some people are just more like redemptions that players that were there for last year. Harui from Frosinone, that's decent. I'm not really convinced. Who is even Hellas Verona as a coach this year? Just have a quick look. Oh, Paolo Zanetti, yeah, the former Venezia guy. Yeah, no, I'm not convinced. I think they're going down this year. Finally. Another interesting one is Torino, who have been like guaranteed to finish 10th the last few years on the 9th to 10th on the Urich. And it's finally, after 3 seasons, I think, Urich is gone now, and they've replaced him with someone quite different, Vanoli, who says, he's inspired a lot by Inzaghi's coaching and some of the, Thiago Motta, some of the newer coaches in Italian football. So it's a complete different style and the way of playing, although he still, I think, in preseason played 3-5-2, 3-4-3 still. But it's going to be in a different way. So that's going to be interesting to watch Torino, because their matches are always dreadful to watch on the Urich. But, in terms of squad level, they haven't done too much as well, but I think they should have enough to kind of remain firmly mid-table, even though they really haven't signed much as of yet. They probably will towards the end of the Mercato. The other team that I think might have a little drop-off, Genoa, it really depends. They're talking about, they sold Retegui. Goodmanson, their best player last year, Inter won him. Fiorentina have been close to getting him. I mean, that's two of their best players. Retegui and Goodmanson gone in one go. If they don't replace him properly, I think, as well as Gilardino did last year, I think they might get into a relegation battle. But again, because of Gilardino's coaching and how solid at the back they were last year, I think they'll be all right. Parma, one of the other newly promoted teams. I don't know if I'm being too positive with these newly promoted teams, because usually they don't do too well. But Parma, again, similar to Como, not that they have lots and lots of money like Como, but they still have decent backing by Karl Kraus. Pecchia is a decent coach. They've got some good players like Dennis Mann, who had a great Euros. Mihaila as well. Who have they brought in? Let's have a quick look. Zion Suzuki and goal, Valeri, but yeah, they're going to do some more business before the end of the Mercato. I think they'll be all right. This is predicting that, they're going to reinforce a little bit more. They've got some Serie A experience in there as well, with someone like Hernani in the middle of the park. And Pecchia's been around the block. Now, let's see, who is going to be the other team relegated? Is it finally Udinese's year, guys? But nah, they got Alexis Sanchez. They got El Niño Maravilla. I think they might, again, struggle, because they still just seem to not invest anymore. The Udinese owners just don't seem to invest anymore to bring players in. But let's have a look. Yeah, outside of Alexis Sanchez, lots of guys that I can't comment on because I've never heard of him, which is the Udinese model, and it usually does work. But they narrowly escaped relegation last year thanks to Cannavaro. I'm just saying, just because of maybe Alexis linking up with Luca is going to pull him out of trouble. And then let's have a look between Lecce and Cagliari. I think Ranieri did an amazing job in terms of talking about overachieving last year. I think it might be Cagliari's year of getting relegated. Let's have a quick look at the transfer window. I mean, yeah, Gianluca Gaetano and Yerimina, that is not good business. Oh, wait, there's a full list. Adopo, Zortea, Piccoli is all right. Luperto's decent, but he got he was fighting relegation with Empoli. And who is the Cagliari coach this year? Let's have a quick look. Oh no, wait, I got it wrong. Davide Nicola is the Cagliari coach. So who the hell is Empoli's coach then? D'Aversa. Yeah. Okay. Oh, so but I mean, my theory still applies here in terms of Davide Nicola. I think he's great to coach to get you out of trouble, but I don't think he's the guy that's gonna get you or he's the guy that probably might get you in trouble in the season. And then Lecce, they've got Luca Gotti, who is, terrorist 101, Al Qaeda founder. This guy is. So I think they might struggle definitely more than they did under D'Aversa, but they may just survive. And that's it, guys. That is my Serie A predictions for 24-25. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and opinions on this all. Hopefully I'm right about Inter, but hopefully I'm wrong about some other teams. Let me know which teams you think I'm wrong about. Obviously, do not bet depending on my predictions, because you will lose your money. And yeah, put your predictions down below. See you on the next one. Ciao ragazzi, Forza Inter. Can't wait for the Serie A season to start. Ciao.